The stars looked different from the viewing deck of the U.S. frontier. Commander Allison Carter stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the strange ship approach. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally found what it was looking for. They were not alone. "They're hailing us again, Commander," said Lieutenant Daniel Pierce from his station. His eyes never left the screens showing the alien vessel. It was 3 times the size of the frontier and shaped like a curved blade. "Open the channel," Allison said. She straightened her uniform and faced the large screen at the front of the bridge. The screen flickered, and a reptilian face appeared. It had yellow eyes with slits for pupils and scales that shimmered between green and purple. The creature's mouth opened slightly, showing rows of small, sharp teeth. "Humans," the alien said, its voice translated by the ship's computer. "I am Envoy Wrath of the Vrol Dominion. We accept your invitation to meet." Allison nodded. "We are honored, Envoy Wrath. Our meeting room is prepared. We welcome you aboard the frontier." After the screen went dark, Allison turned to her crew. "This is it, people. First contact. Let's make Earth proud." 30 minutes later, Allison and her team waited in the meeting room. The airlock hissed open, and 3 Vrol entered. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, their bodies covered in scales. They wore no clothes, only metal bands around their necks and wrists that glowed with strange symbols. "Welcome aboard," Allison said with a smile. The lead Vrol, Envoy Wrath, tilted his head. "Your ship is adequate for such a young species." Daniel Pierce, standing beside Allison, tensed slightly. The translator had caught the words, but Daniel noticed how the Vrol's tail had flicked sharply. His time studying xenobiology suggested that wasn't a friendly gesture. The meeting lasted 3 hours. The Vrol explained they had an empire spanning dozens of star systems. They spoke of trade and knowledge exchange. They asked many questions about Earth and its colonies on Mars and Europa. "Your adaptability interests us," said Zrath. "Most species take centuries to spread beyond their home planets. You have done it in decades." "Humans are curious by nature," Allison replied. "We're eager to learn and explore." When the Vrol left, promising to return with their diplomatic team, Daniel approached Allison. "Commander, something feels off," he said quietly. "What do you mean, Lieutenant?" "Their body language doesn't match their words." When Zrath mentioned our adaptability, his neck scales flattened. "In reptilian species, that often signals alarm or concern." Allison frowned. "You think they see us as a threat?" "Or a resource," Daniel said. "They asked a lot about our children and education systems." "Keep watching for these signs, Lieutenant. Record everything." Over the next week, the diplomatic talks continued. The Vrol proposed a peace treaty and cultural exchanges. Earth's governments eagerly accepted. The first contact had gone better than anyone had hoped. But in private, Allison voiced her concerns to Admiral Summers via secure channel. "They're too interested in our biology, sir, especially how quickly we learn and adapt." "The President wants this treaty, Commander," Summers replied. "But I trust your instincts. Keep your eyes open." "Yes, sir." Unknown to the humans, aboard the Vrol ship, Envoy Wrath was making his own report. "The humans are dangerous," he told the Imperator's hologram. "They adapt quickly. Their children learn faster than any species we've encountered." "Are they suitable?" the Imperator asked. "Yes, their children will be perfect for the programs. We will proceed with the treaty." "Excellent. They suspect nothing." "Nothing," Zrath said, his tail swishing in satisfaction. "They believe we come in peace." Back on the frontier, Daniel Pierce couldn't sleep. He kept reviewing the meeting recordings, studying every flick of a Vrol tail, every shift of their scales. Something was wrong, but he couldn't prove it yet. He only knew one thing for certain: humanity needed to be careful. Very careful. 6 months passed since the first meeting with the Vrol. Earth buzzed with excitement about the cultural exchange program. Dr. Olivia Martinez checked her family's bags one last time. They would be among the first humans to visit the Vrol homeworld. "Lily, do you have your data pad?" Olivia called to her daughter. 8-year-old Lily ran into the room, her curly hair bouncing. "Got it, Mom. I downloaded books about reptiles. Do you think Vrol children like to play games?" Olivia smiled. "I'm sure they do. That's why we're going, to learn about each other." John Martinez entered carrying the last suitcase. "All set. The shuttle leaves in 2 hours." Across the ocean in Washington, D.C., Officer Ryan Blackwood adjusted his uniform. Today he would begin his assignment protecting the Vrol diplomats visiting Earth. He had been chosen for his calm nature and attention to detail. "Officer Blackwood," said his supervisor, "remember that the Vrol don't like sudden movements or loud noises. They see it as threatening." Ryan nodded. "Yes, sir. I studied the briefing materials." The Vrol diplomatic team arrived in a sleek ship that landed smoothly on the White House lawn. Ryan stood at attention as 3 tall reptilians emerged. Their scales shimmered in the sunlight. "Welcome to Washington," said the president, stepping forward with a practiced smile. The lead Vrol, Ambassador Kranth, bowed slightly. "We are pleased to deepen our relationship with humanity." Ryan watched carefully. He had read Lieutenant Pierce's reports about Vrol body language. When Ambassador Kranth spoke of friendship, his tail twitched in a way that didn't match his words. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Martinez family arrived at the Vrol homeworld. The planet had 2 suns and vast cities built into mountain ranges. The buildings were tall and curved, with no straight lines anywhere. "It's beautiful," Lily whispered as they stepped off the transport. A young Vrol approached them. "I am Seketh," he said through a translator device. "I will show you to your living quarters." Lily studied Seketh with curiosity. He seemed younger and smaller than the adult Vrol with brighter scales. "How old are you?" Lily asked. "I have seen 12 cycles of our 3rd moon," Seketh replied. "In your years, about 10. Lily smiled. "I'm 8. Do you know any games?" Seketh's head tilted. "Games? We have training exercises. I'll teach you some Earth games," Lily offered. In the following days, Lily spent time with Seketh, teaching him hopscotch and tag. The Vrol child was fascinated by how quickly Lily learned to speak a few words of his language. In the science complex, Olivia worked with Vrol biologists, sharing information about Earth's ecosystems. She noticed how interested they were in human brain development. "Your offspring develop neural pathways at an astonishing rate," said Chief Scientist Roth. "How do you accelerate their learning?" "We don't," Olivia explained. "Human children naturally learn quickly, especially languages and social behaviors." Droth's eyes narrowed. "Fascinating." That evening, deep below the city, Imperator Dragath met with his advisors. "The human children are even more impressive than we predicted," he said. "Their adaptability exceeds any species we've harvested before." "When do we begin?" asked General Vrask. "Soon. Let them grow comfortable first. Select the most promising subjects." Back on Earth, Ryan Blackwood escorted Ambassador Kranth through the American Museum of Natural History. The Vrol seemed particularly interested in the human evolution exhibit. "Your species evolved so rapidly," Kranth noted, "from primitive apes to space travelers in mere thousands of years." Ryan nodded politely, but felt uneasy. Later, he found a private moment to send a message to Lieutenant Pierce on the U.S. frontier. "Something's not right," he wrote. "They're too interested in our development patterns. Keep watching the families who went to the Vrol homeworld." As night fell on the Vrol planet, Lily Martinez looked out her window at the strange stars. In the room next door, her parents discussed the day's events. "They asked so many questions about Lily," John said quietly. Olivia nodded. "About all the children. It might be nothing. But what?" "I found some translated reports. Other species who met the Vrol disappeared within decades. They fell silent as a shadow passed their window." The grand hall on the Vrol homeworld glittered with strange lights. Humans and Vrol gathered for a ceremony to mark 1 month of successful cultural exchange. Lily Martinez wore her best dress and stood beside Sekith, who had become her friend. After the ceremony, I will show you the moon gardens, Sekith promised. His scales shimmered with excitement. Lily smiled. I'd like that. The ceremony began with speeches and strange vrol music that sounded like whistling wind. Halfway through, Olivia noticed something odd. Several vrol guards entered the hall and positioned themselves near the human children. She leaned toward John and whispered, "Something's wrong." Before John could respond, the lights went out. Screams filled the darkness. When emergency lights came on 10 seconds later, Lily and 5 other human children were gone. Lily, Olivia shouted, pushing through the crowd. Lily. John grabbed a vrol official. Where is our daughter? The vrol's scales flattened. Please remain calm. This is the work of extremists. Our security forces will find them. Aboard the U.S. frontier, Lieutenant Daniel Pierce received the emergency transmission. He ran to Commander Carter's office. Commander, 6 human children have been taken from the cultural center on the vrol homeworld. Allison Carter's face hardened. Notify Admiral Summers immediately. Prepare the ship for emergency protocols. Within hours, every human ship in space was on high alert. On Earth, Officer Ryan Blackwood was ordered to detain the vrol diplomats. By what right do you hold us? Ambassador Kranth demanded as security officers surrounded the vrol embassy. 6 human children have been kidnapped on your homeworld, Ryan said coldly. You will remain here until they are returned safely. 3 days passed with no sign of the missing children. The vrol government claimed a rogue faction was responsible and that they were doing everything possible to find them. In the Admiral's office on Earth, Dr. Olivia Martinez and her husband met with Admiral William Summers. They had been emergency transported back to Earth while the search continued. They're lying, Olivia said, her voice breaking. I found classified reports. The vrol have done this before to other species. Admiral Summers nodded grimly. We've reached the same conclusion. Lieutenant Pierce has been analyzing their communication patterns. This was planned at the highest levels. What are you going to do? John asked. Admiral Summers stood and walked to the window overlooking the fleet gathering in orbit. I'm delivering a message to the vrol High Council in 1 hour. It will be broadcast across all frequencies to their entire civilization. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Pierce worked in secret. After the kidnapping, he had volunteered for a dangerous mission. Now, disguised as part of the human diplomatic staff still on the vrol homeworld, he slipped away from his quarters after dark. Using a stolen access card, he entered a restricted zone of the main government building. His translator picked up voices from behind a heavy door. The human offspring are responding well to the first tests, a vrol voice said. Their neural plasticity is exceptional. The Imperator will be pleased. How soon can we begin deep adaptation trials? Soon. We must be careful not to damage them permanently. The value is in their adaptability. Pierce recorded everything, his hand tight on his concealed weapon. He had to find where they were keeping the children. On Earth, Admiral Summers stood before the broadcast array. His message would reach the vrol homeworld in minutes. This is Admiral William Summers of Earth. Return our children unharmed within 48 hours, or face extinction. We warned you. Harm a human child, and you won't live to regret it. This is not a threat. It is a promise. As his message traveled through space, Earth's military mobilized. Every ship, every weapon, everything humanity had built was being prepared for war. On the vrol homeworld, in a laboratory deep underground, Lily Martinez woke in a strange container. Through the clear walls, she could see other children in similar tanks. Fear filled her heart, but also determination. She began tapping code on the wall to the child in the next tank. If adults couldn't find them, maybe they could help themselves. Lieutenant Daniel Pierce moved silently through the dark corridors of the vrol research facility. His heart pounded, but his hands remained steady. 3 days of careful observation had led him here, to the lowest level of the complex. He pressed his back against the wall as two Vrol scientists walked past, discussing their work. The human children show remarkable adaptation to the stress tests, one said, especially the female called Lily. Pierce waited until they were gone, then continued toward the main laboratory. The door required special access, but he had prepared for this. Using a device he had built from stolen Vrol technology, he bypassed the security system. The door slid open. What he saw inside made his blood run cold. 6 transparent chambers lined the walls. Inside each one was a human child, connected to strange machines. The children appeared to be sleeping, but occasional movements showed they were alive. Pierce recognized Lily Martinez from her file photo. She was in the second chamber, her small body floating in a clear liquid. Unlike the others, her eyes were open and alert. When she saw Pierce, her eyes widened. She tapped on the glass, using a pattern he recognized as Morse code. HELPUS. Pierce nodded and began working on the control panel. The Vrol were running experiments on the children, testing their reactions to different environments and stresses. He took photos of everything, downloading the research data to send back to Earth. He found what he needed: the coordinates of this facility and proof of what the Vrol were doing. Using a secure channel, he transmitted everything to the U.S. frontier. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Olivia Martinez hadn't slept in days. She worked tirelessly in her lab, studying Vrol biology. If humanity was going to war with these aliens, they needed every advantage. "I found something," she told Admiral Summers during their morning briefing. "The Vrol have a unique biochemical structure. Their bodies can't process certain compounds that are harmless to humans." "Can we use this?" Summers asked. "I believe so. We could develop a weapon that affects them, but not us." Summers nodded. "Work with Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan. She's designing new weapons systems for our ships." In another part of the complex, Kate Sullivan and her team worked around the clock. The engineer's red hair was tied back in a messy ponytail as she leaned over a holographic display. "The Vrol ships use a different type of shield frequency than ours," she explained to her team. "If we modify our weapons to match this pattern, we can penetrate their defenses." A young assistant raised his hand. "But won't they just adapt?" Kate smiled grimly. "Not if they're dead before they figure it out." In space, the Vrol detected Pierce's transmission. Alarms sounded throughout their fleet. "The humans know," General Vrask told Imperator Dragoth. "They have discovered the research facility." Dragoth's scales darkened with anger. "Move up our timetable. Launch the attack now, before they can prepare further." "What about their ultimatum?" "Ignore it. Humans are weak. They care too much about their offspring. We will use the children as shields if needed." The Vrol fleet moved into position, preparing to attack Earth's outer colonies. They expected an easy victory against the primitive humans. They were wrong. Admiral Summers had anticipated their move. What appeared to be defenseless colonies were actually elaborate traps. The real colonists had been evacuated days ago, replaced with automated systems and combat drones. As the first Vrol ships approached Mars colony, Summers gave the order. "Operation Trojan Horse is a go. All ships, execute Battle Plan Delta." Hidden human ships emerged from behind moons and asteroids. They had been waiting, weapons ready. Back in the research facility, Pierce worked frantically to free the children. He managed to open Lily's chamber first. The girl fell into his arms, coughing as the liquid drained away. "The others," she whispered. "Help them too." "I will," Pierce promised. "But first, I need to get you somewhere safe." Lily shook her head. "No, they'll move the others if they know you're here. We save everyone or no one." Pierce looked at the determined little girl and nodded. "You're right. Let's free them all." An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. They had been discovered. Red lights flashed through the Vrol research facility. The alarm screamed in Pierce's ears as he worked to free the remaining children. Lily, still weak from the chamber, helped a small boy stand. "We need to move fast. Pierce said, checking the corridor. "Can you all walk?" The 6 children nodded, faces pale but determined. Pierce gave them simple instructions. Stay together, stay quiet, follow him. "Lily, you take the rear. Make sure no one falls behind." The 8-year-old girl nodded seriously. Her wet hair clung to her face, but her eyes were clear and focused. They moved through the corridors, hiding whenever Vrol guards ran past. Pierce led them toward an emergency exit he had found on the facility maps. Meanwhile, in space, the battle had begun. The Vrol ships fired on Mars colony, destroying what they thought were human habitats. Instead, they hit empty buildings and decoys. Captain Natalie Ford watched from the bridge of the U.S. frontier as the Vrol fell into Admiral Summers' trap. "They took the bait," she said. "All ships, commence attack pattern Omega." Human ships appeared from their hiding places around Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. They fired precision shots at the Vrol vessels, targeting the weak points Kate Sullivan had identified. On Earth, Admiral Summers monitored the battle from command headquarters. Beside him, Dr. Martins worked frantically to complete her bioweapon. "How much longer?" Summers asked. 10 minutes, Olivia said, not looking up from her work. "The compound is almost stable." A communications officer approached. "Admiral, we've received Lieutenant Pierce's transmission. He's found the children and is attempting rescue." Hope flashed across Olivia's face. "Lily?" "All 6 children are alive," the officer confirmed. Back on the Vrol homeworld, Pierce and the children reached the emergency exit, but it was locked down because of the alarm. "We need another way out," Pierce said, looking at his map. A small girl with blonde hair pointed at an air vent. "We could fit through there." Pierce nodded. "Good thinking. I'll go last to make sure everyone gets through." One by one, the children crawled into the vent. Lily helped the smallest ones climb up, showing surprising strength for her age. Just as the last child entered, 3 Vrol guards rounded the corner. "Stop," they shouted, raising weapons. Pierce fired his stolen Vrol pistol, hitting one guard. He pushed Lily into the vent and followed quickly behind her as energy blasts hit the wall where he had been standing. "Crawl forward," he told the children. "Don't stop for anything." In space, the battle turned in humanity's favor. The Vrol had not expected such resistance. Their ships, though larger and more numerous, fell one by one to the human fleet's coordinated attacks. Admiral Summers received the news with grim satisfaction. "Launched the second phase." With this command, smaller, faster human ships broke from the main battle. They jumped to hyperspace, heading directly for the Vrol homeworld. On that world, the news of the battle reached Imperator Dragath. His scales darkened with rage. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They are just humans." General Vrask backed away from his leader's anger. "They were prepared. They knew we would attack. Find those escaped children. They are valuable research subjects." In the ventilation system, Pierce and the children crawled toward an exterior exit. They could hear Vrol soldiers searching for them, cutting open vents in other sections. "We're almost there," Pierce whispered. "Just a little further." Lily, crawling next to him now, suddenly stopped. "Listen," she said. In the distance, they heard the sound of explosions. The ground shook beneath them. "What is it?" one of the children asked, fear in his voice. Pierce smiled grimly. "That's the sound of humanity coming for you." Outside the research facility, human ships entered the atmosphere. They fired precise strikes at Vrol military targets, avoiding civilian areas. Captain Ford led the attack personally, her ship hovering above the research facility. "Find our people," she ordered her crew, "and then burn this place to the ground." Inside the vent, Pierce's communicator suddenly activated. A human voice came through clearly. "Lieutenant Pierce, this is Captain Ford. Do you copy? We're here to bring you home." Pierce pressed the communicator to his ear. "Captain Ford, this is Lieutenant Pierce. I have all 6 children with me. We're in the ventilation system, east side of the facility. Copy that, Lieutenant. We're tracking your signal. Get to the roof if you can. We'll extract you from there. Pierce looked at the tired faces of the children. Change of plans. We're going up, not out. He consulted his map and found a path through the vents that would lead to the roof. The children followed him, crawling on hands and knees through the narrow metal tunnels. Outside, Captain Ford's ship hovered above the research facility, firing at Vrol defense towers. Other human ships engaged the Vrol vessels that rose to meet them. The sky filled with explosions and weapon fire. "Ma'am, we've located Lieutenant Pierce and the children," reported a young officer. "They're moving toward the extraction point." "Good. Prepare the rescue team. I want those kids on this ship in the next 10 minutes, Ford ordered. On Earth, Olivia Martinez completed her work on the bioweapon. The clear liquid in the container didn't look dangerous, but it contained compounds that would target the Vrol's unique biology. "It's ready," she told Admiral Summers. "This will disrupt their neural pathways without harming humans or other species." Summers nodded. "Get it to production immediately. I want every ship armed with this within 4 hours." "Admiral," Olivia said, "I want to go with it. I want to be on the team that rescues the remaining children from the Vrol homeworld." "That's not standard protocol, Doctor. My daughter is there, and I know this weapon better than anyone." After a moment, Summers nodded. "Approved. There's a transport leaving in 30 minutes. In the research facility, Pierce and the children reached a junction in the ventilation system. According to his map, they needed to go right to reach the roof access. Just as they turned, the metal beneath them groaned. Lily, at the back of the group, felt the vent begin to give way. "It's breaking," she shouted. Pierce turned in time to see the vent collapse, taking Lily and 2 other children down with it. They fell 10 feet to the corridor below, landing hard on the metal floor. "Lily," Pierce called down through the hole. The girl was already on her feet, helping the others up. "We're okay, but there are guards coming." Pierce made a quick decision. "Take the other 3 children and keep going," he told the oldest boy still with him. "Follow the map to the roof. Captain Ford will be waiting." Without waiting for a response, Pierce dropped down through the hole to join Lily and the others. He landed just as 5 Vrol guards rounded the corner. "Run," he shouted, firing his weapon to provide cover. The 3 children ran in the opposite direction, with Pierce following backward, still firing at the guards. Lily led them through corridors she remembered from when they were first brought to the facility. "This way," she called. "There's an elevator to the upper levels." Above them, the first group of children reached the roof. Human soldiers in combat gear helped them from the vent and rushed them toward a waiting shuttle. "Where are the others?" a soldier asked. "They fell," the oldest boy explained. "Lieutenant Pierce went to help them." The soldier spoke into his communicator. "Captain, we have 3 children secure. Lieutenant Pierce and 3 others are still in the facility." Ford's voice came back immediately. "Find them. No one gets left behind." In the lower levels, Pierce, Lily, and the 2 other children reached the elevator, but it required a Vrol handprint to activate. "Now what?" one of the children asked, tears in his eyes. Pierce looked around desperately. The sound of Vrol guards was growing closer. Suddenly, the elevator doors opened. Inside stood a young Vrol that Lily recognized immediately. "Sekith," she gasped. The young Vrol's scales rippled with emotion. "Hurry, Lily. My father doesn't know I'm helping you." They rushed into the elevator. Sekith pressed his hand to the control panel, and the doors closed just as the guards appeared at the end of the hallway. "Why are you helping us?" Pierce asked suspiciously. Sekith looked at Lily. "Because she taught me games, because she is my friend, and because what my people are doing is wrong." The elevator rose quickly through the research facility. Sekith stood nervously next to Lily, his scales shifting colors with anxiety. "More human children are being held in other facilities," he told Pierce. "My father spoke of it. There are at least 20 more." Pierce frowned. "Do you know where?" "The main science center in the capital city. It's heavily guarded." The elevator stopped at the top floor. When the doors opened, they faced a long corridor leading to the roof access. "Stay behind me," Pierce told the children, and Seketh. They moved forward carefully. Suddenly, from a side passage, 3 Vrol guards appeared. They raised their weapons and fired. Pierce pushed the children back and returned fire, but he was outnumbered. A blast hit his shoulder, spinning him around. Before the guards could fire again, the wall beside them exploded inward. Through the smoke stepped human soldiers in combat armor. "Lieutenant Pierce, call the lead soldier. Captain Ford sent us." The soldiers quickly secured the corridor, helping Pierce and the children toward the roof. One soldier looked suspiciously at Seketh. "He's with us," Lily said firmly, holding the young Vrol's hand. "He helped us escape." On the roof, a shuttle waited with engines running. The 3 children from earlier were already inside, faces pressed against the windows. When they saw their friends, they cheered. As the rescue team rushed across the roof, Vrol ships appeared in the sky above them. But Captain Ford's vessel moved to intercept, firing precisely at the enemy ships. "Get them aboard now," shouted the team leader. Pierce helped the children into the shuttle, Lily still holding Seketh's hand. The young Vrol hesitated at the door. "Come with us," Lily urged. Seketh looked back at his world. "I must stay, to help others see what is wrong." Before Lily could argue, more explosions rocked the building. The team leader pulled her into the shuttle, and the doors closed. Seketh raised his hand in farewell as the shuttle lifted off. In orbit around the Vrol homeworld, Admiral Summers' flagship U.S. Defiant emerged from hyperspace. With it came 30 more human warships. They immediately engaged the Vrol defense fleet. On the bridge, Admiral Summers watched the battle unfold on the main screen. Beside him stood Dr. Olivia Martinez, clutching a case containing samples of her bioweapon. "The extraction team has the first 6 children," reported a communications officer. "They're heading to the frontier now." Olivia breathed a sigh of relief. "And the others?" Seketh said there are more children. "Captain Ford is preparing a second rescue operation for the main science center." Imperator Dragath received the news of the research facility breach with rage. His personal guard backed away as he smashed a control panel with his tail. "How did they find us so quickly? How are they defeating our ships?" General Vrask spoke carefully. "Imperator, the humans have studied our technology during the exchange program. They know our weaknesses. They are primitive animals. They cannot defeat the Vrol Dominion." A communication officer entered with more bad news. "Imperator, we're detecting rebellion in the lower city. Some of our people are helping humans hide." Dragath's eyes narrowed. "What? Who would betray their own kind?" It began with the younger Vrol, those who interacted with human children during the exchange. In the lower city, Seketh had joined other young Vrol who disagreed with their leaders. They moved secretly through service tunnels, spreading word of what was happening. "The humans only attack military targets," Seketh told a group of frightened Vrol civilians. "They're here for their children, not to harm us." Some listened. Others turned away in fear. Above the planet, human ships deployed Dr. Martinez's bioweapon. It spread through the atmosphere as a fine mist, harmless to humans but devastating to Vrol technology. Their ships began to lose power as the compound affected the biological components of their systems. On the U.S. frontier, Lily Martinez was reunited with her father. John held his daughter tightly, tears streaming down his face. "Where's Mom?" Lily asked. "She's with Admiral Summers. She made a special weapon to help defeat the Vrol." Lily looked out the viewport at the battle raging around them. "There are more kids, Dad. We have to save them too." John nodded. "That's exactly what your mother is doing right now." 6 months passed since the battle at the Vrol homeworld. On Earth, families gathered in a large memorial garden, built to honor those who fought to rescue the children. At the center stood a simple stone monument with words carved in many languages. "We warned them. Harm a child, and you won't live to regret it." Lily Martinez stood with her parents, watching as Admiral Summers approached the podium. The crowd fell silent. "Today, we remember not just a victory, but a promise kept," Summers began. "When the Vrol took our children, humanity spoke with one voice. We said we would protect our young at any cost. And we did." In the months since the rescue, much had changed. The Vrol Imperium had fallen from within. After Imperator Dragath was killed during the final battle, the lower castes had risen up against their rulers. Sekith and other young Vrol led the revolution, inspired by humanity's determination to protect its children. The universe now knows that humans will cross galaxies, fight impossible odds, and overthrow empires to save a single child. Summers continued. But our victory brought another discovery. On the screens around the garden appeared images of stasis chambers. Inside were children of many species, all rescued from hidden Vrol facilities. For centuries, the Vrol harvested the young of other species for their experiments. Hundreds of children from dozens of worlds, stolen and forgotten. Today, the last of these children has been returned home. In the front row sat representatives from those other species. Many nodded in thanks to the human delegation. After the ceremony, Lily wandered through the garden. She had recovered well from her ordeal, though sometimes nightmares still woke her. Her parents worried, but Lily had found strength in helping other children heal. "Lily," called a familiar voice. She turned to see a Vrol child approaching. Sekith. He looked different now, his scales brighter, his movements more confident. Behind him walked his father, now one of the leaders of the new Vrol government. "You came," Lily said, smiling. "I promised I would," Sekith replied. "Father wanted to see Earth too." The elder Vrol bowed his head to Lily. "My people owe you a debt we can never repay. You showed my son a better path, and he showed it to us." Not far away, Lieutenant Daniel Pierce, now Captain Pierce, watched the exchange with Commander Allison Carter. "Hard to believe it's been 6 months," Carter said. Pierce nodded. "Sometimes I still see their faces, the children in those chambers. You saved them, Daniel." "We all did. The whole human race." Across the garden, Dr. Olivia Martinez spoke with representatives from the newly formed Galactic Council, the alliance of species created after the fall of the Vrol Imperium had adopted what they called the Carter Doctrine. Any civilization that harmed children would face united consequences. "The bioweapon you created has been destroyed," asked a tall, blue-skinned delegate. "All samples," Olivia confirmed. "We don't need it anymore." Admiral Summers joined them. The last Vrol research facility was dismantled yesterday. The new government has been very cooperative. "And the children?" asked another delegate. "All found. All returned home," Summers said, "or offered homes here if they had none to return to." As evening fell, Lily and her parents walked home under the stars. New stars were visible now. Earth had made contact with many more civilizations since the war. Some came seeking trade, others knowledge, but all came with respect. "Do you think the Vrol learned their lesson?" Lily asked, looking up at the night sky. Her father squeezed her hand. "I think the whole galaxy learned it." "What lesson?" she asked. "That humans protect their children," her mother said. "And now we help protect all children, everywhere." Lily nodded, satisfied. As they walked, she thought about the future, a future where species worked together, where children were sacred to all, a future she had helped create. Far above, ships from a dozen worlds orbited Earth peacefully. The stars held no more fear for humanity. They had faced the darkness and proven themselves. They had shown the galaxy what happened when someone harmed a human child. And the galaxy would never forget.